Welcome to NPAA RadioBLAST. Join us twice a month as we talk with our membership about how they are growing the great sport of fishing. The National Professional Anglers Association, where it's all about the sport. Here's your host, Thomas Allen.
Joining me on the phone is pro walleye angler, National Professional Angler number 81, Mr. Keith Kavajecz, and the host of The Next Bite TV. Keith, thanks so very much for being with us today.
Good to be with you, Thomas.
Well, we got some cool stuff to talk about, and I like to start out all our conversations, get to know you guys a little bit, and I want to ask you a little bit about your early days as an angler and how that got the bug started for you.
All right. Well, I mean, I started out actually fishing more as just an all-purpose fisherman, I'd call it. I mean, I love fishing for panfish and northern pike and bass and, pretty much whatever bit. What was interesting is I did very little, if any, walleye fishing before I was about 21 years old. So, a little bit different.
Well, you got to get started somewhere, but talk to me about that transition. Why walleyes? What was it about them, and when did you experience that excitement?
Well, I think the main reason I actually switched was because I actually married a young lady who their family all fished walleyes, and it happened to be the Parsons family. So Gary Parsons and his dad Don and my wife Lynn. I mean, their whole family, all they did was fish walleyes. And since I like to fish, I thought, well, heck, I can fish walleyes too. So I just started concentrating more and more on walleyes. I also happened to be at that time I was living over in Rochester, Minnesota. And so there weren't a real lot of opportunities for much of any fishing that was any good, except for if you ran up to like Pool 4 on the Mississippi River. So I started concentrating on Pool 4 and walleyes and kind of went from there.
Well, that kind of worked out for you. See, my father-in-law likes to golf, so I have to go his way and swing the clubs once in a while. But now, obviously, you've been a part of the tournament scene probably since walleye tournament infancy in very early days. Talk to me about how that's changed since you started, and what's your greatest tournament accomplishment so far?
It has changed. I mean, I wouldn't say I was at its infancy because obviously tournament and competition fishing has been around a long, long time. But probably the first nationally organized tournaments were the MWC. In fact, it was called something different back then, but now it's the manufacturers. It was the Masters Walleye Council or something. So, Gary and I started fishing the MWC early in the 80s. I think it was like 84, 85, 86, somewhere in there is when the MWC started. And I happened to be at a point at that time where I just really enjoyed tournament fishing, mainly because I joined a fishing club that was kind of tournament orientated. So I got to fish with a lot of people on the Mississippi, both as a boater and a non-boater, and kind of get the bug in me to tournament fish. I like the competitive aspects of it. Then we started fishing some regional events and things like that. And kind of about the right time, the MWC popped up as a good, viable alternative to go out and fish what I would call a national circuit, one where you travel to multiple states, you travel to all different bodies of water. I was fishing at that time with another guy from IBM, and we teamed up and just kind of learned and learned tournament fishing and learned techniques as we went. And, it was always exciting for me to go to new places, like, especially we go out to the Dakotas and we learn about things like a bottom bouncer. I mean, we had never seen bottom bouncers. So everywhere we went, it seemed like we were learning stuff. It seemed like the walleyes were always different. They were always unique, and where they lived and where they moved and what they were doing and what they were biting on. So it was really exciting to learn all the different things about walleye fishing. And then after that, the team events are still going strong now. It's still a great option for anglers to get involved with. Not only like the MWC, but there's a lot of state tournament trails. There's a lot of regional tournament trails. So really a great way to go there. But then, of course, in the early 90s, the PWT, the Professional Walleye Trail, came about. And that was our first shot at fishing pro-am tournaments, or pro-co tournaments. And to me, those were even more exciting because now it was all on me to make the right decisions, find the right fish, make the right moves. And quite frankly, the co-anglers we got in the boat, a lot of them turned out to be, lifelong friends, really good fishing partners. And so I got to meet a lot of people and see a lot of places. So it's been a nice evolution. I would say the biggest change now between when I started and now is just the tremendous amount more opportunity. Just how many different tournament trails you can fish, what level you want to fish at, whether it's team or pro-am. And so it's a very exciting time, I think, for walleye fishing right now.
Now, talk to me about your greatest tournament accomplishment, something you look back on and are pretty fond of.
Yeah, I've won several Anglers of the Year, which were, I think internally to fishermen, those are the harder ones to win. I won one back with the MWC. I won one with the old Cabela's tournament trail called NAWA. Those are the harder ones to win because you got to fish good all year. Probably my biggest accomplishment was I won one of the PWT championships out in Bismarck back in like 2000, when I was 6 or 2 or 4. I can't remember no more, but, fishing back in Bismarck and not catching big fish. What's interesting is it was probably the smallest amount of fish I've ever weighed in and won a tournament. I mean, I think I only had 18 pounds for 3 days. So, small fish, but bigger than anybody else's. So, won $100,000 and a bunch of other stuff. So it was a big event for me. It was some national recognition. It was making the championship and then winning it. And probably to the public and externally, those championships are probably the bigger events to win. So that was kind of exciting.
Well, it certainly takes consistency to do that, and that's kind of leading me into my next question here. A lot of guys are probably at that point in their life where they're thinking, I want to take this turn into the professional angling scene, and I'm doing well putting fish in the boat. What would be your advice to somebody that's looking to make that step?
Just do it. I mean, part of the interesting thing of tournament fishing as compared to regular fishing is that everybody can learn techniques. You can read about them on the internet. You can watch TV shows. You can get videos. You can learn techniques. You can practice techniques on your own. You can go to different bodies of water and learn everything you want to learn. And in fact, I have no problems teaching everybody everything I know about walleye fishing, because what sets you apart in tournament angling is decisions. When to stay, when to go. Am I on big enough fish to win this event? Did I find big enough fish in pre-fishing? Are conditions changing where I need to maybe go and do something completely different? And those things, the only way you learn how to become a good tournament angler is to be around tournaments. You just watch what the top people do. A really great opportunity for a lot of tournament anglers is these pro-am tournaments. Come in the boat for 2 or 3 days with a top pro, see what he does all day. Again, not paying so much attention to his techniques, but, how quickly does he circle a spot? How long does he stay on a spot? Things like that you just can't, it's hard to learn, unless if you're in that tournament atmosphere. You can't just go out and practice that out on the lake. So, that's my suggestion to people, is just get involved with tournaments, If you're going to fish team events, get a partner that's real compatible with you, has the same enthusiasm and passion level, and get after it, But learn as you're out there, because that's really what's going to, excel you in this sport.
Well, working with teams or individual, however you do it, there's a lot of excitement on both sides of that, and there's a lot to learn from the other anglers. And I think I've found out that if you're not willing to ask questions and then take in what you're being fed, for lack of a better word, it can be hard to develop that career-level passion and drive and understanding. So just a continual involvement, I think that's a great route to go.
Right.
Now, obviously,
and you talked about excitement. I mean, that is the one thing a tournament can do. I mean, talk about, getting excited about a 14 or a 15 or a 16-inch fish. But some events, that's what you need to win the event. Mm-hmm. So it's not, you don't need to catch 10-pounders. You just got to catch bigger ones than everybody else. So it really does add a level of excitement and a level of, making every fish kind of important. You aren't catching little ones and big ones. You're catching, weight, and weight is what's going to cash checks.
I think John Madden said it best. You got to put the football in the end zone to score. Boom.
That's right.
That's pretty easy. Now, you've been involved on the professional level for some time, and there's some folks you've partnered with for a long time, a long aspect of that time. Talk to me about your sponsors.
I do have a great set of sponsors, and one thing that, if you look back on my career, I haven't switched sponsors very much. Mm-hmm. I've been with Lowrance forever. I've been with Mercury forever. Been with Tracker Bass Pro for 15 years. And what I try to do with all of those sponsors is, first of all, make sure they're going to equip me with the stuff that I like to fish with. One of your biggest assets in being a professional fisherman is credibility. So when I get on shore and people want to know how I caught them, I want to make sure that I was using the stuff that I promote. I want to make sure I'm using the bait and the tackle and the electronics and the rods and everything else because that's the stuff I really believe in, and I believe it gives me a competitive advantage, and I believe it helps me catch more fish. So by choosing sponsors based more on what they provide, what products do they have, what quality of products do they have, how specialized they get, how much they'll let me get involved with product development. Those are the kind of relationships that help me catch more fish and make it very easy for me to then tell people what to go out and buy. I mean, I always use a little rule of thumb. If I'm not willing to talk to my brother and sell him on something, I don't talk to the public about it, So I'm going to make sure that what I'm talking about is going to help catch fish, and that's what's kept me around with not only my sponsors for a long time, but in this business a long time.
Now, let's switch gears a little bit here. I know that you have recently partnered up in a little bit interesting aspect of what you guys are doing with Gary Parsons and Pete Main on a television show called The Next Bite. Talk to me a little bit about that idea.
Well, The Next Bite is, what's interesting is it seems like it's a new thing, but my producer was just telling me we're going to film our 100th episode this year already. So it's actually been around about 8 years, and in fact our website's been around about 10 years. And it was just, Gary and I and Pete, we are very much educators, and part of the problem in this industry is how do you get magazines or TV shows or internets or whatever the medias are out there to kind of let you promote and talk about the things you want to talk about. Teach people the way you want them to be taught, the way you do things. And so by creating your own medias, going out and creating your own TV show or your own website or whatever, you have some control of that. And so that was the main driving force. We just wanted a better outlet to teach people more about fishing. And so we try, and on our TV show, we try to be very educational. We have fun while we're doing it. It's not a classroom environment by any means. A lot of laughter, a lot of fun. But we actually, once we catch some fish, we try and make sure we tell people how we found those fish, what we're using to catch those fish, maybe little secrets that we're doing that are catching more of the big fish or whatever, and really try and help them to make their fishing better. I mean, there's tons of TV shows out there. We just wanted ours to step a little bit apart, make sure we have really good animations, good underwater footage, things like that, so that people start to understand what's happening under the water and what can they do above the water to actually make them fish bite. So we do spend a lot of time and effort and money on trying to make it a very educational show, but I'll tell you right now, it's probably one of the funnest parts of my being a professional fisherman, because I get to go and fish on some great places, great bodies of water, great times of year. If it's really, really windy, the cameras can't take it anyhow, so I get to sit on shore, so it's kind of a good deal.
Sounds like it. Tell me what your website address is and where can people catch the TV show at?
The website is called The Next Bite, so put the "the" in front of it, but thenextbite.com. The TV show is also called The Next Bite, and the TV show is airing on Versus. So it's right now it's done. It airs January through June. Is when all of our episodes are on, and they can go to the website, and it has a full list of what shows are on, when they're on, and things like that, little descriptions, and actually more details about what happened in the show, maybe than we can even show during the air time. So the nice thing is, too, I know we've got some, and we're working on getting all of the old episodes out on the website, so people didn't see it in the past, they can go to the website and view them, and we also sell the DVDs, the past season's DVDs. So the cool thing is that, we really emphasize the northern angler. That is, walleyes, muskie, and northern pike are pretty much all of our shows. So there's plenty of shows out there if you want to watch saltwater or bass or whatever. So we kind of pick the specialty that we think we're good at, and have really stuck to our guns on that. And again, a lot of people follow us just for the educational aspects of it.
For sure. Now let's switch gears again. I told you we got a couple loaded questions here, and I like to close out the show asking these. Talk to me a little bit about what you're doing to further the next generation's involvement in the sport of fishing.
Well, I actually personally do a lot of kids seminars. I actually go into schools and do kind of it's a fun little kind of a game where they guess a fish, and I give out some hats and stuff. But then I talk about fishing and how each fish is different and how you might fish for each different fish. And I think the biggest thing is try and get them revved up about fishing to hopefully get somebody to take them out. Because that's the biggest thing we all need to think about right now is just, it seems like if you can get a kid out fishing and catch a few fish, they kind of get hooked on that. It's an exciting thing to do. Just being out in the boat and, the speed and stuff like that out in the boat. Those are all cool things that can attract fish or kids to be fisher people. And the thing is that once people start to fish, you can do it the rest of your life. I mean, whether you're doing it from shore or in a boat or on a dock or whatever, you can fish the rest of your life. So it's a cool sport to get involved with. I think the other big thing that I personally have spent a lot of time in, not so much for the real young people, but especially for professional fishermen, is AIM. AIM is the Anglers Insight Marketing. It's a tournament trail that's created by pro fishermen or fishermen, owned by fishermen. And it really is looking out for the sport of competitive angling, so that there are opportunities for young people as they come up and, get that fishing bug and that competitive fishing bug, that they have a place to go and fish and have the potential of doing the same thing I did when I was young. And so I've spent a lot of personal time and effort on that, endeavor there, and I think it's working out. I mean, we've got some cool things going with CRR, catch, record, release, and our live, our live weigh-ins and things like that. So I'm very proud of that, and I'm going to continue working at that.
It's a very exciting fishing series. I recommend anybody has not had a chance to take a look at that. Please do so. It's aimfishing.com, and there's a lot of great stuff on there, good stories. And the live weigh-in is one thing I think is very exciting. It doesn't matter if you're at the event or if you're around the world in China, you can still participate in the weigh-in by logging on and watching the live live
right.
weigh-in.
It's not just it's not just a boring old live, weigh-in where they just flop the fish up, give you the score, and go on to the next one. I mean, they show video out on the water. They show pictures of the fish being caught out on the water. They show GPS tracking of some of the top guys. So there's a lot of things to watch on the website than just single camera night, still weigh-in. So very, very cool stuff.
Very interesting. Next question is the last question, Keith. We're doing the NPAA Radio Blast here, and I want you to talk about, as one of the members who was around in the early days, why is it valuable for a professional angler to partner with an association like the National Professional Anglers Association?
I have been around from the very start of the NPAA. In fact, I was president of it for a while, and I think the biggest thing that you get from being part of the NPAA is networking. You get to learn people in the industry. First of all, other fishermen, other anglers that are a part of the organization. You can learn about them online, but they have a big conference in the winter when we're not real busy anyhow. And a lot of anglers go to that just to kind of rub shoulders with maybe some of the top guys, maybe some of their peers. A lot of new anglers coming in. But we also have a lot of the top people in the industry, manufacturers, boat companies, motor companies, who come to that meeting because now it's getting to the point where it's kind of a place to be. A lot of my biggest moves in my career are because I've been at the right sports show or the right consumer show or the right event out there, and I meet the right person, and we click, and we get things going. And so as an aspiring professional fisherman, you need to get out and just make yourself visible. And this is one of the best ways to do that. And I do want to note that, professional fishermen is kind of, it sounds like, you got to be making your money, living fishing, you got to be doing. It's not that at all. It's that you want to, maybe go full-time, maybe you want to go half-time, maybe you just want to, do it part-time. But you still need to learn how to not only fish in this industry, but help promote in this industry. And what I tell people is I don't even necessarily promote products. I promote getting people to fish. I promote getting people to catch more fish. And, so that's what you need to learn how to do, and the NPAA is just a great organization to help teach you how to do some of those things, but then to also be around a lot of the people who have been doing it for a long time.
And interestingly enough, traditionally it was probably more concentrated on the walleye side of the industry, but, there are now just guides. They don't fish competitively, but guides that are involved, and bass anglers are becoming quite interested. So it really appeals to all genres.
And that's because it's all the same thing. We all just need to get more people fishing, teach more people how to catch fish, because if people are catching fish, fishing is fun, flat out. And if it's fun, people will do it. So, that's what I try and do with people, whether it's a first-time fisherman or an experienced angler or whatever, is we just need to catch more fish. And if you catch more fish and you're careful with the resource, at least the right ones and things, we'll all have a great time for a long time in the rest of our lives.
Couldn't have said it better, Keith. This has been a lot of fun. I appreciate your time on this, and we'll look forward to catching up with you again sometime.
All right, Thomas.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Keith Kavajecz, you've been listening to the NPAA Radio Blast, and in the meantime, make sure you check out thenextbite.com and learn more about Keith Gary and Pete with what they're doing, and we'll catch you here next time. Take care.